focus on differences rather than what is in the best interest of our children. Parents, your relationship with each other should never affect the relationship you have with your child. Celebrate your children together. They deserve your best. A message brought to you by the Department of Probation and Child Protection Services. Contact us at 467 1311 or 662 6833 for more information.
Let's get real on winnfm. Hi, this is Lavi. Let's get real Wednesday nights at 8 on winnfm. Get ready for an hour of real talk that will keep you engaged and informed, bringing you insights, the hottest topics of the moment, and perspectives that matter from the runway to the political arena. Real Talk with Lavi covers all. Let's get real Wednesday nights at 8 on winnfm. Let's get real on winnfm. Hi, this is Lavi. Let's get real Wednesday nights at 8 on winnfm. Get ready for an hour of real talk that will keep you engaged and informed, bringing you insights, the hottest topics of the moment, and perspectives that matter from the runway to the political arena. Real Talk with Lavi covers all. Let's get real Wednesday nights at 8 on winnfm. something about Peter Tosh song. I just love Peter Tosh. That's my boy. I grew up under him. And I must say thank you, Wabuka Hobson, by having the good old Monkey Hill disco back in the days. That is how I was introduced to this kind of media and the music and stuff like that. So, yeah, Peter Tosh, God bless your soul. I love your song. A pleasant good evening. Welcome to Real Talk. This is Lavi Gumbs. And I'd like to let people know that I am from the island of St. Kitts and Nevis. You know, we all link up on the internet. Radio Land, I understand that, you know, you're out there. So WinFM, yeah, congratulations. Yeah, so the folks here on the grounds, a pleasant good evening. Once again, we are so happy and excited to be back here in the studios. It is Wednesday evening, the 18th. Listen, June already. Like, it's, you know what I mean?
It's out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, so tonight I'm going to be having a conversation, and I have some questions for them. They don't know about it, eh? Yeah. Yeah, but I have here in the studios with me the Ministry of Health, and they have just launched, well, let me don't say too much. I'm going to leave them to say all of that, you know? But I have here in the studios with me the PS, which is Mr. Curtis Martin.
Good evening.
And Miss Chevrich. Good evening to you, Chev.
Good evening, Siobhan Richards, the PRO for the Ministry of Health.
Oh, listen. You're very creative. I love it. I was wondering where she get Chevrich. So this Siobhan Richards. Girl, I love it. Eh? So how you came up about the name?
Well, I am an artist as well, and so you tend to have like a stage name. And what's better than the rich?
I know, right?
We want to make money at what we do, so I was like, it's already my name. So.
And say it and feel it. The money will come.
And then my first name has like 9 letters. It's really long, so it was good to shorten it. So.
Well, I'm glad to be here and understanding where the rich come from. And you're going to make some money. Just remember me, eh?
Of course.
Yeah. All right. So everyone, if you're just in tune, please share the live. Tell a friend. This is something that I feel like the entire Federation, you guys asked for it. You know, we have been always talking about the JNF hospital, the healthcare system in St. Kitts. Oh, it bad. Oh, it this, it that. Well, we have the PS, and we have Miss Siobhan Richards is here. And they're going to be here to be sharing some exciting things that they have been doing. And it's all about, I would say, upgrading. And it's a process. So tonight we're going to have a conversation. But I just want to let everyone know, if you're just in tune, this is Real Talk with Lavi. This is a show is for, I would say, everyone. But we want to make sure that we can welcome anyone that is out there that want to come and share the stories that can help inspire someone else. So if you have a business, I welcome you, but it must be something. It's not all about you. You have to come and bring something that can help someone else also. So let's dive right into the Real Talk with Lavi. The show begin. A pleasant good evening to you, Curtis.
Good evening to you as well.
How you feeling?
Great.
How was your day?
Excellent.
Excellent.
We had a number of activities today. We had the launch of we had a leadership training by the Peter Drinkins cohort academy, and we also had the launch of our new health newsletter, and then we had that followed with an exercise activity outside the office of the Ministry of Health this afternoon. And now we're here, so it has been a very long day.
Nice. Curtis, I'm going to send you some flowers right now because Dr. C.G. Walwyn, he spoke highly of you. He said that he had a training with you and he learned a lot. And this is something that he said to me. And sometimes we don't get to really hear it. And I just want to let you know that you have been helping a lot of people. So I want to get a little training too, eh?
All right.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So, Miss Rich.
Yes.
You're such a beautiful woman.
Oh, thank you.
Look at your face.
Thank you. So are you.
That's right.
Thank you. I don't have the guys, them, I don't tell them how nice they look, and but it's a sister putting on your crown, you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
All right. So, Chev, how was your day?
Well, as Mr. Martin said, long, but satisfying.
Satisfying, right?
Yes, yes. It was good. It was good. We had a number of activities, but I would say all of them were really good.
Nice. Listen, I am just feeling the energy. I don't know what all you're gonna say tonight, but I'm just feeling the energy of the Think is healthcare, and people don't understand healthcare. Don't just start from the word health; it starts from people, and I can just feel Curtis' energy. He's happy. I can feel your rich energy as well, and it all starts from us as a people.
Yes.
Okay. So before we get into the questions and the answering, I just want Curtis again. Curtis, I know you said you had a good day. Anything exciting that you did today?
Well, today we had the launch of our new newsletter, brand new, fresh off the press. It's called the Health Cycle, and we have an editorial team led by Dr. Marissa Carty, and we also took the opportunity to feature one of our long-standing professional nurses, Nurse Rhonda Laurie Robinson, and so she's featured on the cover, and I want you to share that with you so you can show the audience as well. Right.
That's it.
Right. So, we have to actually recognize the persons whose shoulders we stand on,
Oh, yes.
and the work and the sacrifice they would have made. I often say that the work of nurses is actually a noble profession. You can get away with saying that the doctor will come tomorrow, but you can hardly get away with saying that the nurse is not around.
That is
So
true.
we want to cherish the work of our nurses. We just last month celebrated Nurses Week, Nurses Month, and we ended with the gala. We had an award ceremony as well, and so as a give back and recognition of the sterling contribution that they've been making to healthcare. And as I do the rounds in the Josephine France General Hospital with the leadership of the hospital, I can tell you that when you look at the work carried out by our nurses, it takes a special heart of compassion and care to deal with that. Of course, we are in a transformation journey, and so in that you'll have adaptive change. And in adaptive change, you have to look at where the gaps are.
Yes.
And so in making the rounds, the public, we engage the patients, we engage the family members, because sometimes you'll have a patient who may not be in a position to speak, but there'll be a family member who's been coming around. So we ask them, how was the service? How are you doing? So we're looking at upgrading and continue to build on what we have so far. We have about over 26,000 visits to JNF every year. I want to mark that because sometimes you hear the refrain that, there are bad things and things not good and so forth. When I do the rounds, people are saying, look, I have a different story here. It has been nice, it has been good, it's been rewarding. And of course, whenever there are gaps, we ask them to be truthful. And so we deal with those. So now at the hospital, we have someone who deals with the customer service end of things, to greet. We do the rounds with the leadership. Leadership includes the Director of Health Institution, the matron, the assistant matron, the operations director, myself. We go around and just to make sure that we stay on point. And we actually have a catalog of stuff that we tackle on a daily basis and to bring real solutions. So it is really about that. And last but not least, remember, I've said from the beginning that healthcare is really about caring people, caring for people in an environment that is conducive to caring. And so you have to look at both sides. You have to look at the side of the patient, but you also have to look at the side of the staff. So we're very much interested in staff development. We've recently had a number of team building activities with the nurses where each ward went out and did their thing. So the 4 pillars that we're interested in and we're focusing on in our transformation journey is the physical health, mental health, social health, and spiritual health. We also will be started providing pastoral services for persons. In fact, a pastor once said, that sometimes people pray most when they're on their hospital bed. And you know, going through life, it can be a wilderness, and that word of encouragement can be important for that person, especially as they lie horizontal. When you're vertical, everybody knows you. When you're horizontal, you know who knows you.
That's
That's
true.
basically it. Yeah.
That is so true. Chef, before I continue, I must tell you, you know, your Sandy pointer.
Just allow me to interject here,
Yes.
because I want to make sure that it's underscored.
Yes.
Ms. Richards is actually our brand new public relations officer for the Ministry of Health. So
Awesome.
I just so we'll be seeing more of her, hearing more of her, and there'll be a
Yes.
serious uplift with respect to our public engagement with communication. Because you're right, you said at the beginning, it actually starts with each of us. And if we
Absolutely.
all do a little, we can do a lot.
Nice. Congratulations. But I have to say this because, you know, I was talking to about Chev, and he said how beautiful she is. Well, all your Sandy Point people out there, message me and say, yes, she from Sandy Point.
SP?
SP,
Where
yeah.
the best be? Okay, that's what they say.
So they make sure, message me. So I had to get that in. I ain't easy, you know,
At all.
at all.
Yes.
Okay. You know, I'm just going to go right into the questions, right?
Yes.
Can you briefly introduce yourself and your role within the Ministry of Health?
Okay, right. So first of all, I would have to take a step back because I'm coming from what we call the private sector. And so my background is really in human resource management. And human resource management is a totality of people's concern. And so I've had a long career with respect to managing people and leading people. And there are different types of leadership. You have leaders who lead people, and you have leaders who lead people, who lead leaders who lead people. And you have to know the difference. Today, we're not managing widgets and production units. We're managing behavior, we're managing knowledge and skills, and it becomes a little more ticklish. So people will come dime a dozen, for example, with their certification, their passes and stuff, but the behavioral pieces as far as the attitude, the interpersonal skills and all of that, that's where the rubber hits the road. And so we want to make sure we work on that. So we are interested in winning behaviors. And in joining the ministry, I was asked to do two things. That is, first of all, was to stabilize the ministry. Its finances, its platform in terms of the equipment and stuff that we had. And we have brought quite a number of equipment on. You heard about the upcoming MRI machine, you heard about the CT scan, different types of equipment that we have there. And we have a 128 slice CT scan, state of the art, one of the best, brand new, and it's working wonders. We also increased the number of specialists. We have about 34 specialists, doctors, nurses working at the hospital, and we'll continue to build that out. My job really is very simple. You remember Donnelly?
Yes.
Who at the traffic lights?
Yes, yes.
My job is really to make sure that the traffic flows. And the traffic really is flowing through the work of the leadership team. I think I have a dynamic leadership team, and they have been working pretty hard over the last 12 months or so in putting the ministry on a different path. And so I want to make sure that I recognize them. And of course, to let people know that our Ministry of Health is actually on the primary care. I just want to clarify something. The public normally thinks that JNF is our private care facility. It is not. In healthcare, our primary care is actually our health centers. So we want to change that conversation. So what we're doing is making sure that we equip, making sure that we provide a service and build capacity of our staff. Just recently, we had about 10 staff from the community side trained in phlebotomist training, which has never been done before. We just upgraded the St. Peter's Health Center, hot water.
Wow.
All the health centers, we put in ACs, but we're also going to work on the staff capabilities. So you have the primary health centers. The secondary is actually the hospitals. So we have JNF, we have Mary Charles, and we have Poxon. Of course, we also have the Carding Home. And what we've also done there is bring some respect and dignity back to our elderly. An old man once said to me that there is no fun in old age. And so what he meant when I asked him was sometimes we abandon them. And he wants to, he shared that with me. And when I go to the caring home, that's one of the area that is very dear to me. So I've asked them to uplift on the activities that they have there, not just Elderly Month. So far they have had several activities in December. They have had either concert, they have had luncheon, they have different things. They have been to the beach. I actually went in the water with them on the day that they were there. We took them on a historic tour. We're going to take them to the movies. We're going to give them life and dignity.
And they'll be excited,
Listen.
Yeah, like little kids, yeah.
Listen, when I saw them, they inspired me to go in the water, I came, show up to say hi. I said, no, man, I got to go in this water. And I went in, and when they're talking, and they shared some old stories, and something came out as well. What they're saying is, we allow too many of our stories to end up in the cemetery. We don't pull enough information from our old people. Even our national heroes.
Oh, my.
We talk a lot about people, but in terms of getting the information about them and the work that they did, we allow that to pass. So that's one thing that came out of that.
I just want to add to this because I had this discussion yesterday and it came back up today where a lot of people were saying that a lot of the elders are not sharing back what they know, the knowledge, they're dying with it as well. And one of the things, because I approached a particular person and I wanted him to be on the show. Of course, I can't force anyone. But he did not want to be on it because he said he don't want people to steal what he is doing. So I was like, but still what, at your age, you should be happy to share back.
Correct.
But I really think that he means well, but this is something that a lot of us go up with. It's like, oh, don't, like say I'm a hairstylist, don't do this because people going, but somebody taught me, and that for you to be in a particular field, it's a revolving kind of thing. And I feel that we shouldn't leave this earth unless we try to pass back on some of our knowledge. So that's adding to what you were saying,
And so in any organization, when you have the top not fully trained, not into people, because I always use this scenario. If, for example, we have environmental officers, and they're responsible for doing a number of things, making sure that our environment surveillance is clear when you have music festivals and so forth, making sure that the hand washing and other things, the precautions are so in place. Go to the abattoir, for example, make sure our meat and so is in good stead. When a guy says to you, look, I don't want to, he's working in that area, and he says to you, look, I don't want to work at the abattoir, but that's part of his role. I always tell my leaders that, likewise, when you say as a leader that you do not want to deal with people, then you're just as bad as that guy. Because in modern day leadership, you cannot do it alone. And I say, if you're going up a hill, Lavern, when you look back and nobody's following you, you're only taking a stroll.
Yes.
So I've actually started by ensuring that we provide the leadership. And the leadership training is important. Two parts. One is leadership of people, and the second one is leadership in customer service. So we have the Jenkins leadership course dealing with the leadership piece, and Dr. Eustace Arundel has been helping us pro bono with respect to the customer service leadership piece, because customer service is generally not on the agenda of board meetings and general meetings. So we want to make sure we take that as a staple conversation.
Chev, I came here to ask you guys questions, but it's like up here has some trailblazing and leadership that he don't answer all my questions, but I'm going to still ask them.
Yes, ask them still.
But this is really, really good. It is very good when we really have people in positions, not just in the position, but like the positions.
Correct.
And as you know, I mean, Curtis fully well said it. And Chev, everyone knows you. I mean, even on social media, Curtis, I met her on social media. I mean, I've seen her around over the years, walking on the street with some little boleg. Went in for me saying kids and stuff like that. But when I saw her during the COVID, and I was like, I saw a different person. Growth.
Right.
And I really like her organic style, the holistic that she was bringing. and we became friends. And strange enough, it seemed like we were feeding off of one another, because she said, not because you might not hear somebody, people watching you and you're inspiring other people and stuff. So you never know who you might be inspiring, and we really don't have to ignore the noise, because if this person is for you, someone else is for you. I guess either you or Chess could answer this one. What are the main concerns the public has raised about the ministry's customer service and patient care?
Okay, right. So it really comes back to a culture of.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question, so you can get it. If I ask you to name a business in St. Kitts that actually provides consistently good service, we struggle, because customer service is a day in, day out type of activity. Remember I said to you that it is not on the boardroom's agenda. It comes up when there's a problem or situation to deal with. We want to change that. If you want to be good at customer service, you have to be very picky, and you also have to set certain standards. And the standards, you have to define what the standard is, because often we'll say, look, okay, that person doesn't fit, but we have to ask, what are they fitted to? So unless you define the fit, then you are in no place. So, and it's always best to set the standard and increase your effort rather than lowering your standard to meet that, because then you right. There's a standard person that I use in the community, Officer Rouse, who gives tickets. She has a standard.
Yes,
if you're going in that direction and you know Rouse is ahead of you and you know that she sees you, you are almost 100% sure you're going to get a ticket.
Friend or no friend.
Friend or no friend. And then the other thing is, if you have another officer in that same direction, you feel you have a chance.
Yes.
But you know what? People like standard. Because even when Rouse goes, retires, the folks who are arguing now, you know what they will say? Boy, we had an officer there who never used to play,
Yeah.
So people understand what's standard.
Well, I'm going to take the opportunity and blow my own whistle. When people think of Lavern and her salon, if it's one thing, what I do, like when you see me and when I'm at work, it's totally different. There's no drama, there's nothing. It's a place of love. You come there to get a service, and that is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but I also want to say, though, that some time ago, I attended, many moons ago, when I worked for Cape and West, I attended a workshop in the Bahamas. And the former vice chancellor, he's now deceased, of the West Indies, Rex Nettleford, he was one of the facilitators. And he said something that I always remember. He said that when you're dealing with service, it's an inward reach and an outward stretch. He said, look, if a man is asking you for $5, you have to have it in your wallet, your purse, on your person to give him.
Yeah.
Likewise, for you to give that service. So customer service is not just about demanding that you get customer service because you're setting the standards. That's good. But you also have to make sure you pay attention to the staff. And that's what I'm saying, the staffing. Once you treat people well, in any given situation, they will always look out for you. So we have to make sure we look at, and where, as I said about the fact that to do better, you have to be picky. You also have to understand that people are not boulders. People are pebbles. So each person have their own outlook, their own perspective, their own challenges. You may see Tom just producing, and in 1 month he just falls off. You have to ask why. And whenever the whys are explained, the how becomes easier. So we need to get to the level of understanding what are the needs in people. So, and the healthcare ministry is a lot. We have a lot of numbers because of the sheer nature of it. But we also break that down by the different respective leaders that we have. And before I leave, make sure that I get an opportunity to recognize the leaders by name within the Ministry of Health.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I also had a lot of extensive customer training because, I'm in hospitality, anything to do with service. And one of the questions was asked, why do people come back to your salon? And everybody was talking about how good they are. And the one question was basically how you make people feel.
I make you feel correct.
Yeah. Correct. Siobhan, so Curtis just said that you gave your position.
Public relations.
Public relations. How do you feel about that? I would have been overwhelmed.
Well, years ago, I'll start with a little story.
Yes.
So years ago, there was a time when, we live in St. Kitts and we love the radio talk shows and so forth, and everything was bad. This must have been like, I would say this would have been like maybe 15 years ago or so.
Yes.
And it occurred to me that how can everything be bad when, if you look around the world, our standard of living, the security that we have, the peace of mind that we have,
Yes.
it's way above a lot of places, right?
Absolutely.
And so myself and my partner decided to go on a little fact-finding mission. And we had just become entrepreneurs, so we had some time. And so we went to different government departments, and we decided, you know what, we're going to find out what's going on ourselves. And in doing that, we found a lot was happening. And I think sometimes we, the ordinary people, we go about our lives and we don't recognize how much it takes to give us the ease with which we live. We flick a switch, the power comes on. Saying it has gotten so good that how it came past, before the next day, you have power back most of the time. You have internet, you have this, you have that. It's not like that in a lot of places.
That's so
and we do
true.
not recognize that there are people working behind the scenes to ensure that your life is as smooth and simple as possible. And so sometimes we get caught up in the hearsay and a lot of the negativity, but we are not able to discern for ourselves. We don't stop and think, well, if this was so, how come I'm still able to live at this particular standard and so forth? And so, all that to say,
No, I like the story because it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
all that to say, why I don't necessarily feel overwhelmed is that because since then, I've been doing a lot of social media and different things. And if you are fear and you look at my stuff, you would realize that I'm always very objective.
Yes.
And I speak to my people as much as possible about uplifting our mindset and being paying attention, because a lot of the times we walk around with a lot of misconceptions and victim mentality, and we do not feel empowered, not recognizing that we are the ones to empower ourselves. And so in coming into this role, a few years ago, I had my baby, and everybody told me, don't have her in St. Kitts, right? And then some other friends told me, well, you better don't have her in the US.
Yeah.
Because there you ain't want nothing to them. And you have way more things that can go wrong, right? Decided to have her here. And my experience was nothing like what the average person would have said. I went there, and I'm an observant person too. And I was like, wow, they got this machine and that machine. What I thought they said.
Yeah.
And I had nurses who were wonderful. But then again, I'm the type of person, even during labor, I'm saying thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't forget my manners, right? And the experience was good. I was supposed to go in private. I went in early. She was born early. So I ended up in the room with other mothers. And let me tell you, again, perspective.
They must
I
be
am
so happy
so
to have you there.
But I was so happy to be there because as a first time mom and going through all the things and, that cut. If I didn't have the camaraderie and the support
The team,
of the
yes.
other women, and a lot of us were new mothers, then it would have been a lot harder, and that anxiety that comes. And a lot of times we look at TV and we see that, all these people have the private room and we want to be like that.
Yeah.
But culturally, I was so blessed to have been in a room with them. And I started thinking, oh my gosh, well, there's a lot of stuff going on in health, right? They even told us that they could do, you could pump your breast milk. They have an industrial breast pump in the hospital that if you cannot afford your own pump, you can go there weekly and you can pump your milk. And they pushed the importance of breastfeeding and looking after your child and everything like that. And that was at least 6 years ago, so I didn't even have this offer yet. So when the offer came, I was like, well, I'm into health anyway. I'm always
Yes,
telling people how to
yes.
eat healthy and da da da.
Yeah.
But it was an opportunity because I made a note to myself in the hospital and I said, if I'm ever in a position to thank these nurses and to thank the whole healthcare system because I felt taken care of, I'm definitely going to do so. And I really feel that there's a lot that happens in our country. There's a lot of good, but as we say, negativity has more energy, it moves faster. But a lot of the times we do not take the time to really look and be cognizant of the fact that not everywhere in the world is like this. And just to be thankful. And when you look at things through the lens of gratitude, you start seeing the blessing you have. You start seeing that not because my thing isn't like that doesn't mean it's not worthy, it's not good, it might be better for me. And so in this position, I'm hoping to be that bridge in a very reachable way, in a
Yes.
very, not an uptight way, because one of my things is I know that you have to take a message. If you're communicating, you know, sometimes we feel we have to impress people when communicating. That is not the point. The point of communication is getting that information to who needs it. So if you speak to a level where the least intelligent or the least capable person in the room can understand, you're successful because those who are higher will understand.
Correct.
But your goal is to reach everyone, and that's my goal, to take all the wonderful things that are happening and to really put it out there so we can see what we have and really start to appreciate us and our system.
And I'll give you a quick update on that same to the thing to do that. So I go to the maternity ward one morning on the rounds, and I saw these 5 ladies in the kitchen sitting down eating, 5 patients. So I said, what's going? They said, yes, we having a married breakfast, right? And then so I asked the nurse. When I went back the next day, I said, well, where they are? They said, yes, they were on the way out. They're having the exit breakfast. But, so they left. But just to show you that they were like family, just sitting there and eating and chatting and so on. You could see that, and all of them had a child. The child was there and the thing, but it's just the networking and the meaningful connections and relations that you can get out of these things. And even when I do the rounds with, you know, I refer to people respectfully. So I say, Mommy, how you doing? You okay? How's things? And I go back the next day. So some days they up and down, and you get satisfaction to know they say, look, I'm good today. Or one would tell me, one woman in particular recently told me, look, I'm from Newtown. So every time I greet her, I say, Newtown warrior, how you doing? She said, me good, man, me good. Yeah. So it's that sort of thing that we cannot pay for. And it's really priceless, but it means a lot to people. And we're making every effort to make sure. Even the pillow, the bed sheets, whatever it is. 'Cause one lady said, look, you know, I'm here a couple of days, I think I could do with a different pillow. And we went out and got that sorted out. Just for her comfort, because, I mean, that's what it's all about. I told you, it's the little things down to the pebble level. Yes.
You know, and I want to say this here because being on the media, and I'm sure Chev will get that too, as well. Sometimes I go about my business downtown and people are saying, Miss, I don't watch you on YouTube, and Miss, I do this. And so we are impacting people in different ways.
Correct.
And I could see where Chev, you can actually and will make a huge difference. Curtis
She's already doing that.
Exactly, right. And she been doing it, but I could see where being with Curtis, because in order to be great, you just have to have the right people.
Correct.
And the people that is on the same mindset. Nobody competing with one another. They just want to make sure that they get things out to make people feel good and be the change that people really want here in our country and in healthcare.
Yeah.
So congratulations again. You can do it. I'm rooting for you.
Amen.
What are the main concerns the public has raised? I asked you that already, right? Okay.
But well, the main thing has been really centered around JNF and things like the wait times. Simple things, you know, wait time, wait time in terms of the triaging when they come. Sometimes the lack of information, not giving the right information, as well as the behavioral pieces. We walk on with 2 beings. You have your conscious and you have your subconscious. Oftentimes we use our subconscious. I mean, when you, for example, you get your license and you're new, you have your 2 hands on the wheel, right? No instructor, no police, just you alone. After what happens to the other hand? It's only one you're using now, right? because of confidence. And so likewise, we often respond to people in our subconscious mind, which, and the subconscious part of you has no emotions, no feelings, no energy, no thought. It's just there. So what we need to do is to bring the consciousness. So to let you know, remember I said that healthcare is about caring people, caring for people in an environment conducive to caring. So we have to make sure the environment, and the most important element in the environment is people. So that AC up there in the room, two probabilities. It's going to work or it's not going to work. With people, just being early for work. My dog dead, my husband kept me back, it was raining. You know the excuses. You're not going to have that from the AC. So that is why you have to be up to the task to understand, dealing with behaviors, dealing with people. And so you have to go with it and work with it.
Nice. Okay. How did the ministry come to recognize the need for change?
Right. So, well, for me as a leader, since coming on, as I told you that the focus has been ensuring that we take a different path. And I can tell you that one of the important person in my book that has been very close to ensuring that this journey continues is the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Michael Drew, and our Minister of Health. He's very particular about ensuring that the role that he had before as a medical doctor, because you can work for an institution for 40 years and have 1 year experience. Dr. Drew, the Honorable Prime Minister, he has been working through the system. He was a student, he went off, he specialized, he worked with almost every area of the hospital. So he understands it cover to cover. And so what he sets about doing is ensuring that we do this transformation journey. So he's very much, he meets with us. In fact, this Friday, he's meeting with the leadership team to go over the statistics and data for the month of May. We discussed these statistics. Let me give you an example. And as a pitch and as an education piece, we are having strokes. We're having a stroke at the rate of 1 per day in the Federation, and perhaps 1 per week average in Nevis. We're asking, you have to find out the data and then ask why. What is causing it? Are we eating right? Are we exercising? I mean, as simple as sleep. Do you know that lack of sleep can also can elevate your blood pressure?
Yes.
And almost everything else, your sugar and all of that. So rest is important. And then the other thing too, how do you balance life and work? I mean, work and your personal life. And so Dr. Drew has been very, very adamant that we look at not just the data, why it is happening and what we're going to do to it. So, for example, the CT scan. The CT scan has been very, very instrumental in pinpointing clots and situations that we could not have before. These are important instruments, the MRI, the X-rays, and not only that, the capacity of the staff in different disciplines. So you have the physical health part, NCDs, the cancer, the diabetes, the high blood pressure, and those things have been taking our people out. But we also have the issue to do with mental health. Mental health is on the rise. And I want to give a plug here to the Republic of China, Taiwan, for sponsoring a 3-year program on mental health.
Oh, nice.
We have also worked with the Ministry of Tourism, the police, the mental health daycare facility down at Lime Keel. We're going to upgrade that facility in terms of ensuring that we build our capacity. Just now, we're providing transportation services for that institution, so we can get more out into the community to our people. If we can go in search of our people, knock on doors, treat them, feed them, give them the medication, and have more engagement. The other thing too is apart from the mental health, so we want to thank Taiwan for that.
Nice.
We also would have had quite a number of partners, the partnership, PALS, Pediatric Assistant League. We have had a lot of other private donors. Just recently we had someone who privately donated his generator to the Cardin home, because the one there that was there from since Noah built the Ark. And so it's stuff like that. Ross University has come on board. Just this week, we had a meeting with Ross University, and they are engaging us in terms of how they can help us with our continuous medical education. Of course, remember that you can have the word doctor written on your door, but medicine has gone long past you. And so we want to make sure our doctors, and it comes back to what we're saying about the bridging the gap between the youths, the fresh, the incoming, and those who are senior, to make sure that grandfathering and grandmothering happens in terms of transfer of knowledge. So all these things are happening. And then we want to make sure, and as I told you, we started a pastoral service this week at the hospital. So that's the religious piece. And in the social piece is where we want the community to help us. There's a lot more drinking happening, male and females. Females are drinking rum now as opposed to beers. Men are drinking beers and stout. Women are drinking. And then the smoking and consideration for other persons. You're in a public entertainment function. You have a whole area that's open for smoking, that you can smoke away from people. And sometimes people choose to smoke right where you are, and it causes it without any care in the world, not knowing that the person who they have light up next to has an asthmatic or breathing conditions or something of that nature. Respiratory, can develop respiratory problems.
I heard that stroke is on the rise here.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the medication. We're looking at the medication. But of course, in anything, and that's why Mrs. Richards is here, is that we have to ensure that we start at the beginning. And the beginning really is, what do we do for ourselves to make sure we don't get to that position? And so the stress, the things that you see, sometimes the burden that we carry, we can really let go. If you ever want to gain control of yourself, let go of the things and people that no longer work for you, and get so you become lighter. And so
you could say
that's
that. Can you repeat what you just said?
yes. Yeah, because it's mental. It's about mental. Because the real question about life is, who's in your corner?
Yes.
Remember, you can be popular, but when it comes to the crunch time, you then, because what I realize in also making the rounds at the hospital, you know what I do? I thank the person who is visiting for visiting the person. I say, thank you very much for being there for our patient. And you could see the satisfaction on both of them faces, because that is what it is. You know, there's some neighbors, this is just a lighter side. There's some neighbors whose curtain and your gate work on the same remote.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So as you go, but life is so funny. That same neighbor may end up coming to the hospital to visit you ahead of. Right? And we had post-COVID, we had reduced the visiting time as well. We have increased we have extended visiting time from 2 p.m. 11? Right. So 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Right? So people now can have a little time longer, but we also want to make sure that 11 to 2, sorry.
Okay.
11 to 7.
To 7.
Right, 11 to 7. Yeah, numbers are all over my head.
That's fine.
11 to 7. The reason for that is we want to make sure people get reasonable time with their families. We also want, if there are persons who want to learn how to take care of their loved ones and so forth, we also do that. We had a case of that recently. While doing the round, somebody said to me, P.S., I'm so happy with the nurses. I said, why? Because they showed us exactly how to take care of our mother's wound. And so now we can do that at home. These simple things make a big difference for our people.
All right. It is 8:50.
Already?
Yes, it is.
No, man, we need more time.
It is 8:50. This is Real Talk with Lavi. We're down here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I have here our special guest, PS of the Ministry of Health, Mr. Curtis Martin, and Miss Siobhan Richards. And she is, I wanted to say her position. Tell the people your position.
I'm the Public Relations Officer for the Ministry of Health.
And isn't she beautiful? Well, anyway, Mr. Choi Mills, another Sandy Pointer, is coming in, and he just bigging up Siobhan. Troy must think this is a pageant, but I understand the point, people. Thank you so much, Troy.
Thank you, Biff.
Yes. You see what we're talking about?
Yes.
Environment is from Sandy Point, and yeah. But I want to take some time to go on over there to the internet. We see Mr. Garwin Freights. He's saying, I think when you were speaking about the smoking, he said, yeah, like smoking on Princess Street on Friday afternoon with no care who they affecting.
Right.
Yeah. And I got to also say, persons that are out there and you're listening, please help share the live because this is how we're going to get the information out. I think that the same way we can share other people that we don't know, the movie stars, and we're there sharing all the things, talking about them, and they never want to come on our live or,
Correct.
say, so, let us support more local. Okay, so Curtis, how is the ministry training or supporting its staff to improve service delivery?
Okay, right. So training comes from different sources. Training comes from what you do. Sometimes you do what you call a training needs analysis. Training can also come from performance plans. So when you do the appraisals, interviews, you may find that there's a gap. There's a need for training. So you may have somebody in a supervisory position, for example, and you realize that they're struggling in dealing with people. So they may need some supervisory training. Or you may have somebody who has some interpersonal problem, and you may need some anger management training or something of that sort. Training also comes from products and services. So you have a new product coming in, like the MRI, the CT scan, and so forth. You have to make sure that people are aware in terms of how to do that. And then you have the other area to do with continuous education. And as I said, for medicine, it's a moving situation, and you have to stay abreast with what's going on out there. And so much so that you also have to make sure that you're not caught by people who have bad intentions trying to sell things that will not work. So you always have to make sure you do your validation. If I take it by, let's say, by sector, so the administrative pieces as well. For example, for us, in healthcare, record management is important. And while we speak of that, we are advancing towards having an electronic health record to be in place in St. Kitts and Nevis. So we're working on that. That's where the patients have better access of their information. And also to reduce, because I don't know how many of you observe that when you go to a doctor or nurses around, they spend about a third of their time writing, but 2/3 of their time writing. The other third is to tend to you. So we want to make sure we provide training. And the records, we had some training, for example, to do with, in the ministry to do with record management. We also have to give people the capacity. So when I came in, I realized that there were also some persons who were stuck in the civil service because of the lack of subjects. They don't have maths, they don't have English. So at the All PS meeting, I made a suggestion that I wanted to employ 2 persons to do English or maths. Well, the PS for education, Ms. Vistana, she said to me, look, PS, you don't have to do that. We have trainers. All I need is the names. So we have about 54 people who will be taking up maths, and another 53 will be taking up English, because they are doing the work. They don't have the subjects, but they're then limited because of the lack of subject. So it's about taking them to a different place. So that is also a form of training. For the nurses, they do regular training, continuous training, because part of their re-registration on a every 2 years, they have to do a set number of training hours. So they are on that part. For the doctors, we call it continuous medical education. So Dr. Davine Wilkin, who is our medical chief of staff, she actually is the lead person in ensuring that this is done. This chief medical officer, Dr. Hazel Laws, also assists. We have had UMHS come on board, and they have provided a number of education presentations in the doctoral space. And we have Southern University, we have a number of, and we have Ross also coming on. And we have our own experts, because the nurses as well, they do what you call symposium every year. And in that symposium, they choose different topics. You remember I told you that there was some team building activities with the nurses. You know what they did this year?
What they did?
For the first time, actually, their team building activity took this form, and I have to thank the matron, Ms. Kerry Williams Tuckett, and assistant matron, Sandra Lestrade Keynes, and the principal nursing officer, Dr. Randallin Dennis Bratcher, sorry, for bringing on a different style. So what they did this year is that they choose an area where they had a problem in executing on their ward, and they use that as a focal point for their training, for their half-day training activity. So let's say it is to do with, let's say, the administration of medicine, of whatever kind, or something that they're doing clinical. They use that, and they were able to bring subject matter experts to address, but they also blend that or quoted that with some fun activities. So, for example, one of them had a vision board, and they actually each of them had to, cut out the pictures and create a vision. Really, really exciting. And so that is what it's about, making a difference. And we can't, and as well, I mean, in healthcare, we're also looking at doing things differently. So the health promotions unit had a drive to do it on Condoms Day. So we set up to go in the square. Said to them, look, the square is dated. It has its purpose, but everybody goes there. When you're in the square, you think it's a lunch, you think it's another activity, people just pass by, some people come in. I said, go up George Street, go up Irish Town.
Nice.
That was the impact of the day. Because the Spanish guy, he had a condom box, and he said, yeah, bud, in Spanish. And it was, because the PR will tell you, people just like to be, especially now in modern day, people like to be in the spotlight as far as, so they were able to push our messages. And so what we want to do is to make sure that our health promotions unit go out in the community.
And it's
knock
like
on
you're
doors.
going into the communities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We can't do without
That's
the
very
community.
nice. And for persons that are out there listening, I mean, you're not going to get this information. Well, I must say, we are getting this information, and it's good to know that we can get this kind of information from the PS. You're not too busy to be here, and I can even, like I said, you already gone through most of my questions, but I'm still going to ask my questions.
One other plug I want to make, though, is which is a sort of interest to me, is men. We have to do some work on focusing on our men. And believe it or not, men enjoy being in men company. If you call them and you say, men, we're having a domino game, we're going to talk about health and so forth, we only want men.
Yes.
They're going to show up. When you have PTA, parent teachers meeting, and you say only men, they will show up. So we just, and we're dying younger than women. We're not going to the doctors fast. And so we have to help that conversation.
Can I just squeeze this in?
So I want to,
Can I just squeeze this in when you're speaking about men? Someone told me that when they had the testing for I think for the men,
yes,
the men show up.
Of course.
Some men like to
The lodge just had one, and they were highly supported.
They show up.
I have done several PTAs just for men at different schools, and you can see that they really want to play a part.
Yes.
Sometimes, the hindrances are not, and that's a topic for another time. I don't want to get there.
Right. You answered this already, but maybe you can go more in detail. What role does technology play in improving patient care and communication?
Right. So technology is important. I mean, the other day I was on one of the airports in the US. When I go through, there are stalls selling snacks and other things. Nobody. You go in self-service. Then I go up the corridor, you have a wheelchair, AI wheelchair going to somebody unattended, without anybody pushing it or touching it. For us here, technology is going to be so important. And I should put a plug, because Kiddishans and Divisions we are not strangers to technology. I work at Cable and Wireless for 21 years. When cell phones came to St. Kitts, I was part of the leadership team. Every time Cable and Wireless built a cell site, and a cell site is for accommodating a set number of customers, we broke it down. They had to build more. So when other competitors came in, it was easy because there were plenty. So I'm saying, and not only that, let me give you another example. Shein, Amazon. I remember going to the customs retreat in Nevis over at the Malcolm Gishar thing to do a presentation on the way over last year. It was the last day of the tax-free kind of thing when you order. The last boat coming out of somewhere, St. Martin or somewhere, with some had on about 32,000 pieces of thing, just to show you how much we use technology. I mean,
true.
watch, we do a lot of analysis on technology. I mean, on the social media platform. It has changed the social life of how we buy.
Yes.
You remember the traditional way of going in town and you're saying you're window shopping.
Yes.
You say, where the people there? There's Christmas
Yeah.
amazing, of Christmas Eve amazing, nobody, they're done by a long
Exactly.
time. You understand? And people know that they're standard things, so they order the stuff in advance, they, they're breaking down or whatever.
And they're getting food and all. It's not even like
on
clothes.
top.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so for us, the use of technology is so important because what we want to do is to make sure that the patients are in control of their information. We have had, the instance of you have Dr. A. You go to Dr. A. Dr. A goes off island or is not available for whatever reason. You go to Dr. B now because you want to get better. You have to do new tests
Yes.
and new money.
Yep.
But if you have the information at your fingertips, you say, Doc, well, here's what I have,
That's so true.
right?
Yes.
And then you also can control that by who sees your information. Because at the same time, you don't want everybody to have access to your information. So you have to make sure that it's tiered. And then you need to have a way that no matter where you go, you're able to share. And let me tell you why it's so important as well. A gentleman said to me that every year he alternates his tests, his annual checkup. He does it in St. Kitts this year, and next year he goes to the States or somewhere, some institution. He says he actually takes the information from St. Kitts. So if this year he does it in St. Kitts, he takes the information, carries it to the States, and gives the doctor. When the doctor checks him, he said, man, you got good services down there. You're spot on. This is exactly what it is. So don't fool yourself. I mean, here in St. Kitts, as much as hear people talk and so forth, we have been doing a lot of work, and there are a lot of good stories coming out of the very JNF. All right? We just learned of a situation where the youngster that was bitten by the fish, some say it's not a shark, but by the fish. I just saw a story coming out saying that there was some work being done, but hear this: the stabilization happened at JNF.
I wanted to. It's so funny you talk about that because you spoke about there's good stories. I was gonna give you that story because I happened to be at Frigate Bay
Yes, I remember, and you called me.
when it
Yes,
happened,
I remember,
right?
same day, yes.
And I don't even know the child, but anything to do with a child, my whole mother nurture instincts just got in. And I went to the hospital, and when I went up to the hospital, I did not really know that they had an emergency room at the time. So we went to the normal. And when I told him what happened, the speed that Dr. Archibald, he literally came out, looked at the situation, and they dealt with that right there. So the experience, as you said, for everyone is not the same. But I know sometimes maybe lack of communication on both ends, both the patient and the staff. And when I went there, I just asked questions, and I did not just go there and just wait because it was an emergency. And I did not want to touch the child because I know the extent of the situation. I didn't want to add to it. So I decided not to let him go in no kind of wheelchair until a doctor see him.
Correct.
But in order for me to do that, I basically went and I told him what happened. And he told me that, he said it was good that we brought the child because he probably could have bleed out. So there's some good stories, and the doctor they show a lot of care. And so that child, when he left from Frigate Bay and went to the hospital, the urgent, the way how the doctors and the nurses relate to that child, and as I said, they thought I was a mother, which I wasn't. So
Well, you were.
uh,
You were. You're doing motherly duties, so you were.
yeah,
Yes.
and then after seeing where he is now, you know, I think that as Siobhan said that I don't think that we sometimes look at the positive, we just dwell on some of the negative, but we have more positive here in St. Kitts and Nevis than what's negative.
Let me tell you one of the days that I was really, really satisfied. It was the day when we had the unfortunate situation where we had 5 victims
Yeah.
coming from the accidents. The staff rose to the occasion. I mean, it was a busy, busy thoroughfare, but they rose to the occasion. And you know, sometimes when you step back and you reflect and you sleep on it. I went back the next day and I had to ask the professionals, are you okay?
Yeah.
Because it was also traumatic on them.
And them, of course.
And you know, of course, nobody seems to ask the nurse, how are you doing? Nobody asks the doctor, how are you doing? Nobody asks a positive person, how are you doing? But positive people and people in the profession, they carry quiet burdens.
And St. Kitts is also small as sometimes some of those same people that are coming in could be the nurses and doctors' family or
Correct.
friend or
Excellent.
somebody that they know because
Correct.
the place is very small.
Correct, correct. So that gave me some joy in terms of the fact that we were able to put into play our trauma and emergency situation. And people who were actually, you had staff members, professionals who were actually off duty came to the hospital to work.
Nice.
So that also was, you know, real remarkable. So we're in a good place. I'm very happy with the staff, the leadership. Of course, we have some way to go in terms of the adaptive change.
Well, let me ask you this question while you're going to say that. What other challenges have you faced in implementing these changes?
The norms and habits of a civil service, and sometimes the mentality that people think that, you know, once you're appointed, once you're in the service, that you're just set. No. We have to do better. And so I'm not interested in the stories of what happened before. We have to do better. But how you do so must be collaborative, right? So, for example, we're looking at all levels. A couple months, more than about 2 months ago, we changed the uniform of the orderlies. This week,
Yeah, I saw that.
this week we launched the uniform for the domestic staff. Both groups, you know what we did? And this is the work was carried through by Mrs. Lindsay Maynard. She is our Director of Operations. And Ms. Stacy Batiste, who's our Manager of Operations. They actually involved the staff in the selection and color of the uniform. When we did the one with the orderly, when we were taking the pictures, line up to take the pictures outside the hospital, people came from all directions. One guy came with his shoes, his brand new shoes on the arm. Don't take the picture without me. And he running, coming. That was just so remarkable. And then the domestic workers, you can see a high level of satisfaction because they're in the back, but they are my supporting cast. If the patient who is diabetic is a diabetic, doesn't get their meal on time, cooked by the staff in the back, I have a problem. So when we do our rounds, we do not just do our rounds with the patients and the folks in the front. We go to the back. Those who are ironing, those who are cooking, those who are cleaning, those who are working in the morgue, those who are working doing maintenance in the stores, we visit them as well and ask, how are you doing? And so they know we're coming around. And so you build camaraderie. Somebody say, yes, Lord, you're here again, how you doing? Lord, you looking, you're getting fat. And so,
Yeah.
but is it, you know, so I said, what happened to you? Why are you looking so down today? Treat them like people. And so they go out for you and for the institution.
And that is how it's supposed to be because the staff also need to feel comfortable, you know? Okay, so how is the ministry ensuring accountability and transparency during the process?
Okay, right. So the ministry, when I came, the ministry had um, basically two vacant positions of accounting officers, right? And so what we did was we actually set out to fill those positions.
Yeah, I think we're getting a call.
Okay, getting a
Yeah.
call? Yes, go ahead. Thanks.
A pleasant good evening. You're on Real Talk with Lavi.
Good evening, Lavi.
Good night.
Good evening, the doctor and the other colleague. My name is
He
Winston. Welcome.
sorry, he's the
I didn't.
PS.
I didn't.
Hello, he's the PS for the Ministry of Health.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what is his name again?
Curtis Martin.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Martin.
Good evening, sir.
I like what I've heard so far, and you seem like you are a person with the quality care that needed.
Thank you.
But and I applaud you for that, and I will tell you continue to do better moving forward.
Thank you.
Anywhere there are improvements, let it be done, let it be requested. Okay. Now, Mr. Martin, there are lots of negativity at the hospital. And I am here in the US. I soon come home because I am a very observant person. And there is one negativity that I don't like to hear. But sometimes people blow things out of proportion. Now, you are in the environment at the JN and elsewhere. There are the negative that any patient go to JN, it's not certain that they're coming out alive. They go in alive, but they come out, they end up dead. And to tell you the truth, I'm only hearing, I'm not there. But that negativity, I need someone to explain and seal the deal of positivity once and for all. And if you are in the position to shed some light on such, I'm all ears, because saying one thing is different to the real thing, and we have exaggeration. So I would like you to explain and knock down the negativity of JN France, because you are there. And it doesn't sound good to say, I am there. So then that will speak negative about you two and all who are involved. So shed some light on that. And I hope all the ears who are listening can hear from the doctor itself. Thank you. I appreciate your answer.
Thank you so much for calling. Curtis, you wanna?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that call. Thank you for that feedback. Now, I think earlier I said that the institution of JNF sees over 26,000 people per year. Footprints for different services, labs. You have radiology. You have the emergency room. You have the outpatients. You have our pharmacy. Now, the fact that we see so many people every year is a testimony in itself that we are doing far more good than what is being said. There's no perfect health system, there's no perfect health service anywhere, but we always aim for that. I tell my people that it is better to aim for perfection and miss than to aim for imperfection and hit. So we're aiming for perfection. Now, I think as well what happened is, and as I said, we now have a PR, a strong public relations officer who will help us in our messaging. Because oftentimes there is an area where the communication between the public, the patient, is disconnected in some way. And so what we're looking at is ensuring that we maintain certain standards and protocols. In fact, the Prime Minister just announced that there is a health steering committee, which is like a health board, equivalent of a health board, that is multi-sectorial with different ministries. We had the FS, we have the Ministry of Aging and Disabilities, the works, you name it. Almost every ministry will be represented. We had our first meeting a week and a half ago. And that really is to make sure that we look at the helicopter, from a helicopter's position, in terms of the policies, our strategic plan, and where we're going. Now, if we come closer to the operations, we are looking at what we call better case management, where each case is actually examined. We look for the facts and we communicate and deal with the facts. Wherever, because in healthcare there will always be what you call medical errors. That is different from being negligent or being willful, but you have genuine medical errors that can happen in medicine anywhere in the world. So we can't get away from that. But what we want to aim for is perfection, because nobody wants to know that they are the 1% that didn't make it. So we're aiming to make sure, and that is why we are working on our customer service aspect of things. The leadership now is on the rounds to make sure we check. In the week, for example, we have the leadership of the hospital making the rounds, and on the weekends, I make the rounds myself, because sometimes people want to speak with you on a one-on-one. And even when I'm making the rounds, sometimes the rest of the team would have to hold on, because somebody will say, PS, come here. Come here, I have to say something to you. And when you think it's something bad, it's not anything bad. In fact, what I have to do is say, hold on, let me call the rest of them. I want them to hear the good news. And if it's bad news, I also want them to hear it. So I work with the operations manager, I work with the director of health institution, I work with the operations director, I work with the head of nursing, the person in charge of the doctors, the chief medical officer or some representative. So we're doing that to ensure that we listen with understanding. Not just listen, but we listen with understanding, because we're not in their pain and their suffering. We also ensure that we are looking at other things in beefing up our services. The PIO will tell you that we'll be putting name, badge, and ID in place. So you no longer can be telling me a nurse and try and describe the nurse. You know it's Nurse Tom or Dr. Paul. So we're doing that. We also want to make sure that when people come onto the institution, that they're admitted in a professional way and that they're given the right information, so in the event that there is a matter to be raised, that they can raise it. I don't think the public is aware that on each ward we have nurses and doctors. For nurses, we have the nurse, we have an assistant nurse manager, we have a nurse manager, we have an assistant matron, we have a matron, we have a nursing office, we have the director of health institution, we have the medical chief of staff. All those layers can be called, even before you get to the permanent secretary. So we want people to know that. So we're working on that. We also will be working on ensuring that upon exit, that patients and families can give their satisfaction level with the services that have been provided. We're working on also the behavioral pieces to ensure that our nurses and our doctors understand that they are dealing with people. And the words are married, they're called healthcare. And so we want to ensure
Curtis,
that is done. Another call is coming in?
Yes.
Okay, take the call.
Yes.
You can always come back to that.
A pleasant good evening. Welcome to Real Talk.
Hello, good evening.
Good
My name
night.
is Sonia Manchester, and I'm the administrator for the group Keeping Up with Sugar City St. Kitts on Facebook.
Oh, nice.
And I have a question for Mr. Martin. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Polly. Good evening.
Yes, my question is that I would like to know if you have any plans for implementing a state-of-the-art trauma center for your all emergency room seeing that you just have so many car accidents and gun and stabbing incidents, and those are traumas. So I would like to know if you can let me know what implementation you all have so far for trauma, and if you have a trauma surgeon and stuff like that as yet.
Okay, thank you very much for that, because you put me in two spaces. One is that, well, we have actually, well, through the work of the national security, they have actually worked again through the work of the Honorable Prime Minister to look at the data, look at this, the why it's happening, and then the strategy. So as a result, the gun violence and has gone down, right? However, motor vehicular accidents is now a public health issue. To me, personally, we remain very high on literacy, but when it comes to driving, the comprehension part, I think, is being challenged. Because I've seen people who pass me in a line, the car is number 9 behind me, passing, coming, and there's 6 cars coming forward without a care in the world. Or people just pass you going around the corner. Due care and attention. And then when I was Speaker of the National Assembly, I remember the Taiwan ambassador then said to me that his former life was in traffic. Was in traffic, yes. And he said to me, look, 1-inch movement of the steering wheel represents 10 inches on the ground. Come in there. And so traffic accidents is in fact it's a public health issue. But with respect to our emergency room trauma, just yesterday we have employed or engaged for the first time an emergency room specialist in St. Kitts and Nevis. So, and you'll hear more about that later.
I think we have a caller. A pleasant good evening. You're live with Real Talk.
Yes, Lavi, it's Winston. Welcome once again. I have a question now.
Mr. Welcome, because of
Yeah.
timing, could you make it between the 2 to 3 minutes, if you don't mind, please?
I'll try to do it with you. Mr. Martin,
Yes.
I know you are into improving the hospital for better moving forward. Now, salesman, and when a patient comes to the hospital, I'm not talking about those who are stretcher prone or such, but do you think it will be good if there is a meet and greet, like, welcome the patient or even the guest? And I think something like that will make a great improvement, because, if I to sell a car when I was working in the dealership, I meet and greet the customer at the door, and they end up giving me the sale. And meet and greet with respect to one another. Color blinded, not politically inclined, but just make that person feel welcome, and the service is here.
Yes.
I will suggest, if it's not going on, somebody that needs to be practiced.
Yes, but not to cut you off. So that is what I said earlier, that we're working on our admission procedures, including them the right information, and we also have at the hospital someone who's a customer service representative at the front of the hospital. So you'll see that person identified by uniform shortly.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Both admission and on exit. So we'll make sure. Yes.
Well, you're up my alley, brother.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. Do we have another caller?
Oh, he's gone. So let me just underscore the importance of the point raised by Manchester about the trauma. Yes, we are in fact looking at that. In fact, the emergency room, we're looking at the protocols, we're looking at the standards, we're looking at the setup, the staffing and all of that. We're looking at our triage area, and the triage area is where you come in, and we have had an old system where you come in, you sit down, and you guess what number you're at. We want to make sure the signage is there. We want to get to a point that you know where you're at, and then also to strip out the non-emergent care, because you have situations where a guy comes in and he has a problem with his toe, and he's arguing over someone who came in with a chest problem.
Yes.
And once you have a chest problem, or somebody like a child or somebody that's affected in a traumatic way, then it becomes a priority. So those are some of the things we're looking at. Yes. You have another card?
No, they dropped out.
Okay. Yeah, so we're actually working on that aspect. So you're going to hear more about it. And also our EMS service. We are securing 9 ambulances. Four of them coming in July. But these are the 4 that's coming in July. Refurbished ambulance. So we always want to make sure we're clear and no one puts any spin on it. But they are better than the fleet that we have and the fleet that we have that has been around for a very long time.
Nice.
Of course. And in October, we'll get 5 brand new. So we'll have 9 in all. But let me put a word out there as well. We also have to train our drivers to do defensive driving. That's 1. And 2, we also want to ask the public to help us with moving out of the way with ambulance when the ambulance is coming. All right, so we will be beefing up our promotions on that because we want to make sure that we keep these ambulances. Of course, as well, we're looking for partnerships because more and more people are getting strokes and getting certain illnesses younger. And so the movement of persons is also a challenge. And house care, hospice care for people can be very expensive. And so we want to, put a word out there because the public sector is heavily subsidized, and we always welcome partnership. So even though we have an MRI or CT scan or at the hospital, we also welcome private enterprises because if the one at the hospital is affected, then we are all affected. So we must have some sort of redundancy. So we welcome that.
All right, it is 9:27, and if you're just in tune, this is Real Talk with Lavi, and we are here with the Ministry of Health, the PSR, Mr. Curtis Martin, and the Public Relations Officer, Ms. Siobhan Richards. I just heard you talk about partnerships. So are there any partnerships with private and international organizations supporting this effort?
Right. So let me start with as I said, the Republic of China, Taiwan. They are big. The new hospital, they have, of course, assisted us there. The mental health program, and they've also dealt with the NCD program, 2 programs before, so they've been there. We have the Pan American Health Organization. In fact, let me back up. The World Health Organization and the World Health Assembly was held. And at the last meeting that we had in Geneva, it was really to sign off on a historic agreement. And that agreement was what you call a pandemic agreement. And the World Health Assembly is actually where the world meets. I never even know that certain countries existed. When you hear the name of the countries, they're there, every country. And so they signed off an agreement that took near 3 years to decide. So in the event of a pandemic outbreak, that small islands like us do not get left behind in terms of medicine, in terms of assistance, in terms of financing. The Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, just last week I came from St. Lucia, and we were looking at some aspect of that fund that is being paid to the OECS. So St. Kitts and Nevis will receive about each country will receive about $4 million US. And that will be specific to certain areas, for example, labs, our lab development, our diagnostic, and a One Health approach, not just for people, but also for animals. So the agricultural department will also be partnering with us. Because why is it important to deal with animals as well? The chicken that we eat, most of it is imported. You can get diseases coming from that. And so we want to make sure that we are in tune with our testing. Of course, I also want to put a plug in that we just had a new hatchery, again by Taiwan, that will be selling not just the eggs, but also the chicks, poultry. So we can do it local. So the Pan American Health Organization is key. They have helped us in every respect, lab, diagnostics, and they also have helped us with drafting our strategic plan and way forward in terms of the international standards that's needed. We have the CAFA, right? CAFA is one, also helps us with a lot of training to do with waterborne diseases, dengue, and anything to do with laboratory and that sort of thing. So they come on, they train our people, and they also provide, just like PAHO, assistance. You have the Pediatric Assistant League. We have Ram's group of companies who is coming on. You remember Mr. Kishu? I think he did the eye clinic in name of his, I think, his sister. And so right now the owners of Rams, they have agreed to come on board to refurbish the building of the eye clinic and also provide equipment. We also have Royal Logistics coming on. They've helped us with AC units and other things for the pediatric ward. And while we're on the children's ward, I want to say this. I want to thank the public for taking care of our children. When I make the rounds, you either have one or no child on the ward. So oftentimes, within the last couple of months and even before, the children ward is closed because there are no children. And that is a good thing, so we want to welcome that. I also want to put a plug in. The next door, the maternity ward, we need more babies. Yes. We have an aging population. We need more babies. And I know I have four children already. I don't need any more.
You're going to support that?
So, okay. Yeah, but we have that. So we have quite a number of partnerships that's happening. Oh, and we have the Joy Project. How can I forget? The Joy Project, we have some peer navigators. We have pregnant women. I don't know if on the weekend you realized that the Prime Minister announced that any woman, we deal with the children first, now he's dealing with any pregnant lady that having difficulty. What we found is that when ladies get pregnant and they have difficulties seeing the doctor because of finances, they stay away and they develop complications. So what we're doing, we have peer navigators, 2 in St. Kitts and 1 in Nevis, that actually go out in the community to actually let them know, hey, you come to us. We're going to help you manage this thing so there's no complications. So that too, the Joy Project has provided that. They provided laptops. They have also provided the renovations to the toy room and educational room on the pediatric ward. Very, very nice. Anselin, the artist, Vaughn, from Nevis, he did an excellent job. American Bakeries, the Joy Project. And how can I forget? The foyer. The cable has came on board and actually assisted us with upgrade to the foyer, thanks to the leadership of Ms. Patricia Walters, who I know was very keen and instrumental in making sure that we make a positive difference, because it's about entering the institution and having a better uplift. Because at one point, the entrance of the hospital before that was very drab. The ambience at one of our funeral homes was far better than that. So we want to make sure we lift the spirits, and I think people are quite happy with that. So I want to thank the cable. So we have had, and of course, and the Lions Club, they came, they gave some stuff to the psychiatric wing and also the day treatment center. And of course, we have many others who do not want to be mentioned, but they come nonetheless to give. And we welcome donations. Any donations should be made to the ministry to the ministry's headquarters at Bladens, and then we'll then distribute it to the respective areas. But we welcome donations.
All right. Yeah. So, Ms. Shevich, you are the public relations officer, so I think I want to ask you this question. How can citizens provide feedback or report issues they experience?
Well, on the ground at the hospital, I know there are suggestion boxes. We also have a customer service representative that Mr. Martin would have spoken about. As you get in, she's at the front desk, and she normally approaches persons, and you can share your issues with her. I think she's also on the ward. She goes on the different wards, and she speaks to the family members, the patients, and so forth. And today, we actually launched our feedback and complaints form online. So you will be seeing it shortly, where persons are able to, I think this is a QR code. You're able to scan the code, which makes it very simple if you know to do that with your phone. And then you're able, and you have a telephone number as well. So you're able to access this form online. So you're able to go on, select all the details right down to which health center, hospital, you're referring to the date of the issue, what happened. Even if it was something that you filed before and you felt like you didn't get an answer, you can go and report it there. We also welcome any suggestions, and if you had a good experience, as we talk about the positivity, share that there as well. And this particular platform now has special attention. It has its own set of persons who are monitoring it, and you will get updates as to when your complaint, suggestion, feedback is received, when it is dealt with, and you'll be able to see what the resolution was. So it's a more hands-on approach to ensuring that persons know that they can have access to the ministry, share what they're going through, make suggestions, and actually have somebody respond to that. So engagement, again, we spoke about engagement online, really having the population to come on board and recognize that this is all of our jobs. If Jenna fails, all of us are affected.
We only have one hospital. We
Yeah.
have to take care of it.
We have one healthcare system, and we have to recognize that we should be rooting for it to be successful. I know sometimes we get caught up in the way and we want to just be a part of the fray. But imagine if one night you are a victim of one of those strokes, then all of a sudden you want the system to be as good as possible. So we have to learn. And even when Mr. Martin spoke about the emergency room and so forth, we're going to be educating the public, because one of the things we want to do is empower persons about their health so they can play a part in it as well. So when you go to the emergency room, there's a thing called triage. A lot of people don't know. As he said, somebody might go in there with their toe, you might just stump your toe, and you might say, well, in here for 3 hours now and he just gone in. But he might have had chest pains. That, in triage, it's the sickest person is seen first. It's not first come, first served.
Repeat
It's
that,
the
please.
sickest person is served first. And we'll be putting up the signs, you'll be seeing it online, and we're going to really go on a campaign to educate persons, because again, some of the things that people want to go to JNF for, I don't know, there's some controversy over that, but we're trying to let people know that the healthcare system is made up of primary. People forget that. That's the clinics, what we call clinic,
Health center.
health centers, yes.
yes.
And I'm from Sandy Point with Poxon. And now it's merged where you have the hospital
yes.
but we have a culture there where half the time, I was born in Poxon, literally, like I wasn't even born in JNF. Poxon I was born in.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
good.
so it's like for
Remember
us,
that for
You're
Sandy
going to
Point.
you're gonna set off the Sandy Pointers again, to text in again, yes.
so
choice
we
listening,
have a
yeah.
culture there where I grew up knowing, even as a child, who the doctor was. I could go there. If sometimes I don't feel good, I'm in school, I don't even go home. I could just run up at the time. You run up the hill, and you go in and you tell a nurse, hey, I don't feel good, I have fever, or the teacher takes you. And then they contact your parents. And that's one of the things that Mr. Martin would have spoken about, and I would have heard the Prime Minister, when he comes to the meetings, he's always reinforcing that community health and getting back to the days where patient and doctor were not just like you go in and you talk to somebody for an hour and that's it. They don't know anything else about you, because often healthcare goes further than the hour visit. Right? I'm sure I had I'm not even a doctor, but I had a friend, and she brought her boyfriend, and she said, he has diabetes and he's losing his vision, and they're doing everything. And I'm saying, have you changed your diet? I'm into herbs. Did you try the needle? He's like, everything. So I'm confused, I'm perplexed. He's like, the doctor can't understand him. Like, so who cooks for you? She's like, I do. So I'm like, okay, so what do you give him? And she's like, yeah, I do this, do that. So I'm like, okay, when you make the neem tea, you put in any sugar? Because it was not adding up. She's like, I know not to use sugar. I use glucose. So I had to tell her, miss, that's the gun you shoot in the mind.
Exactly. Yeah.
Glucose, that's like the simplest form of sugar. That's like, and just to show you, it's like you have to, that conversation.
Correct.
The interaction with community members and people being comfortable, and the time it takes to get to know the patient, and that's why the nurses are important and all that stuff. So we're encouraging people, when you have like diabetes and different things, instead of going to JNF and certain things, you can still use the health centers. You can still go there. Most nurses probably know you from the area.
Correct.
Some of them might be able to tell you family history that you don't even remember. You go in and you say, I have this problem. But yeah, you know, your great grandfather used to have such and such.
Correct.
And these are the connections that we're trying to remind people of and to help people to empower themselves. If you're having a stroke a day, that's crazy. That is not just the healthcare system's problem. That shows us that we as a people, we need to empower ourselves and when it comes to our health as well.
Our well-being.
And speaking of empowerment,
One
Grace,
sec-
go ahead.
yeah,
Yes,
one
go ahead.
second.
Yes. Have a call. Copyright.
Three more question to put in.
Yeah.
To come.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, you have one now. You have one. Yes. Okay, they'll call back. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening to you and the guests.
Good night.
I like to participate with this program, so I'm just going to try to make it brief. Thanks for bringing on those two guests. Very informative tonight. Let me ask the gentleman, the PS, right?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, I'm listening.
Yeah. We are winding down, right? So please make it between the 2 to 3 minutes, if you don't mind, please.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Sure.
Okay.
I just want the doctor. I want the doctor to define the terminology, eclampsia.
Just so you know, right? He is the PS for the Ministry of Health.
So he's not. Is he a doctor?
No.
No, he's a permanent secretary for the
okay.
Ministries of
Chief
Health.
Administrator.
Right.
Yeah, okay, sorry about that. But if he can explain that terminology, I would be happy for that. If he can't, well, it's okay. Did he hear the question?
No.
No. What's the question?
Eclampsia. And the lady too, if she knows about that terminology, she could chime in as well.
Eclampsia.
But then I'll move past that. And we're talking about customer service. The new hospital that's supposed to come. Well, we're gonna be up to speed. Are we gonna be ready for the customer service part of when that new hospital comes? Is there ongoing training now? That's it for tonight. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Thank you for that.
I think the term is preeclampsia. It has to do with, it's a condition that women experience during pregnancy. It can be very troublesome, but again, it goes back to what Mr. Martin spoke about the persons going out into the community and encouraging women to seek out the professional or the medical, assistance. I remember when I was pregnant again, and they told me, you have to go to the clinic every week. I was like, but I have a doctor, what are you talking about? And they're like, yes, and you think it's, I don't want to say beneath you, but you think it's old-fashioned, right? But we don't have, like, doulas and much midwives, per se, here. And so it's only after I went to the, what we call it clinic.
Clinic, right. Correct.
And the nurse I dealt with, she was an elderly nurse. She was about to retire. And it is there that, she explained certain things. It was such a different feeling. I went into the room and there was a crib and all the baby stuff, so it got you right in the mood. And then she even though she's calculating the time of the baby, I can't tell, she's using her old-fashioned way. By the time the doctor did it, she was correct. She didn't use his ultrasound and all his fancy stuff, but she was correct, right? And just the experience of having an elderly woman, she was very spiritual as well. So it wasn't just the beep beep and the technology, it was the soothing. It was, talking to both me and my husband and talking about what's going on. And every week I went in, they checked I think you go for sugar, well, your blood sugar and your your pressure tests and different things.
Can get clots, yeah.
And by the time I went into labor early, but because we have such a system where it's almost redundant, because the clinic is doing it, your doctor gets the information. It's like sometimes I felt like they were prodding and like taking tests all the time. But by the time I got there early, even though she was premature, they knew everything. All my information was there. They just welcomed me and, it went through. It was easier. It didn't have a lot of ups and downs. And so again,
Good.
That is good to have them to really push that and show women the importance of that.
And,
All
and
right,
just one quick thing. So he asked about what is being done. So there's something called accreditation. Accreditation is a standard that they use to measure the protocols and the status of certification of the hospital. So there's a accreditation process that we're going through, that we build over into. So we want to make sure we start that before we get into the new hospital. Secondly, quickly, is speaking about empowering and so forth, and the fact that she mentioned that the nurse was able to blend certain things. We have been having a challenge. We have what you call the BSN program, which is a degree program, and across the world there's a shortage of nurses. In the region, there's also a shortage. In fact, the region tells us, look, do not poach nurses from any other island. So we appreciate that, right? So what we're doing in St. Kitts, we're looking at having, we're going to have the BSN still, but we also will have a new program called the Associate Degree in Nursing, which will bring more people on. What this does is that we're changing from having just the theory, all theory, and then we put them into the thing for practice. What we're doing is the old traditional way. What we've heard, I spoke of Rhonda Laurie Robinson, who's our feature health professional, right? Our model, right? And she will tell you, and others will tell you from that era, that when you blend the practical and the theory, so in this new program, we will allow our nurses, because in the US they've gone back to that, and in other places they've gone back to that. So we'll have more people joining the associate's degree. Dr. Randall Batcher, our PNO, is working steadfastly with the CFP College, the Ministry of Education, to get this program in, so that the nurses are in practice in the hospital sooner. So then that will build up our local capacity as well.
That's Ms. Rhonda Lavi Robertson?
Yes, on the picture, on the thing. Yes, on the.
Well, she said she started working since in 1975. So we have somebody good.
We have somebody good. Correct. So it's about really ensuring that we continue the building out of our staffing and capacity of our staff. Yeah.
All right. So it is 9:48. As we wind down, I just want to get in these last 3 questions before we wrap up tonight. What message do you have for healthcare workers who may feel overwhelmed or underappreciated?
Right. Okay. So the thing about leadership is you're responsible for raising more leaders, and you're responsible for ensuring that those in your space that we pay attention to what's happening. So you're responsible for the person on your left, the person on your right, the person in front of you, and the person that's behind who's struggling. You have to bring them forward. It is okay. So we're working on ensuring that we provide necessary services to our healthcare professionals, in understanding that their well-being is also important. So the work-life balance is important. And we can't attack that through a broad brush. We have to get down to the granular level of ensuring that we understand what's going on with each person. So it's about also ensuring that we create the environment. Remember I said that's conducive to caring? So for example, one of the things that I promise the nurses, which I'm going to do, is to provide exercise equipment. I'm working on that so that they can have an option to, have exercise gym equipment.
Nice.
So, and as well as their own personal development, paying attention to that, because sometimes people give you a piece of their life or time. So they give you 3 years or 4 years, because the days of telling people that you work for a place for 21 years is now going out. People doing what you call portfolio work. So they give you 2 years here, 2 years there, 3 years. If they give you a good 2-3 years in an institution, then they have to move on. But we also want to make sure that we provide the environment so they do not move on, because people And that really is about the leadership. So you have to build. So we're working on the top leadership, and we're working on the middle. Because often as well, you asked earlier, what are some of the challenges? You promote people into positions, but, a guy has always been the guy with the screwdriver. You make him a supervisor, he still has the screwdriver. He doesn't elevate, because especially if he comes from among those who he has been liming with and a part of, so that he feels timid and all of that. So you have to give them the tool. And the PR will tell you that, in our training that we have, we do practical things, leadership training, and I'm going to take that throughout the organization and challenge them. And I try to model what I ask for.
Nice.
And it's about accountability. So when you have meetings, we're going to have meetings, we're going to talk more, and also hold people accountable for our actions through having better management of data and better management of our actions through documentation.
And also, as Mr. Martin mentioned, the training this morning, what I would say to the nurses is, again, because of all these things that are being implemented, if you are having a difficult time, the system is changing, it's being upgraded. Speak out. We spoke about self-care and mindfulness, paying attention to what your needs are. You cannot serve your patients if you yourself is running on empty. So it's about also seeking the help for yourself, right, and using the system that you provide for others, utilizing it for yourself as well.
All right, as we come to our ending, it is 9:52. I got to squeeze this in. What are the ministry's long-term goals for healthcare in St. Kitts and Nevis?
Well, public health is really about ensuring that everyone has access. So one of the things that the Honorable Prime Minister is bent on ensuring that we put in place is national health insurance. That's one. And to ensure that we provide top-class services to our people. And that is why the investment, millions of dollars have been spent in equipment, training, and exposure to ensure that we get the best that's out there. When I go throughout the institution, people said to me, well, Mr. Martin, boy, I know y'all had all these things here. Boy, these ain't easy. But it took a considerable amount of effort and thought. And I think what made the difference is really the capacity of the staff that we have. We have some very talented and bright people, and persons who actually love the profession. Of course, you'll have, the exceptions, because that's life. You have to deal with that. But generally speaking, we have really good staff, nurses, doctors, the supporting cast, the leadership, and we have a minister that is really in tune with healthcare. He's not distant from it. Before I came here, he called me, and he's not an island, and it's about healthcare. At mornings, he called me, and it's about healthcare. In the afternoon, he said, Mr. Pierce, how did the rounds go? Very, very simple, and I have to give a report. And so you expect these things. Remember I told you, on weekends, I go to the hospital. I know you're going to call me and ask me, well, Pierce, how was the rounds? Because he is in tune with what's going on. And so that's one of the things I respect about him, and he also understands the system. And whenever you have a good system, I think you are basically on your way. And I think we are on our way. We are on our way through transformation, through adaptive change. Yes. And we just want the community to know that we'll be out there, we'll be coming at you, we'll be seeking your help, we'll be seeking your engagement, your feedback in how we can make things better for all of us.
All right. And our final question for the night. Finally. What would you like the public to know about the ministry's commitment to change?
Right. Change is either a force to be feared or an opportunity to be gained. We see change as an opportunity to do better for our people, and we intend to do that. And no matter, and the gentleman is right, he said, no matter of your politics, no matter of your color, your creed, it is for us to ensure that we provide the same level of high service to everybody that comes to the institution. But we also want to make sure that we give the necessary information to the public so that they can in turn do better on some of the things that we're asking to do. Of course, the PRO, the public relations, our informations unit, we want to make sure as well that it's not just about a tell, but we have to ask the public. Because oftentimes you plan programs around people without asking them. We want to go out into communities and they tell us exactly how they would want us to serve them in a different capacity. So the community nurses, I want to thank them. The community administration, Dr. Chanel Isles, who is the Director of Community Health Services, I want to thank her for the work that she's been doing. Nurse Irish, Nurse Hazel, all the nurses, the nurse managers and so forth in the community. Those at the hospital, I want to thank them as well. I want to thank the Chief Medical Officer. I want to thank the Dr. Bratcher, who is a PNO, the matron, Carrie Tuckett, the Director of Health Institution, Dr. Jensen Morton, the Chief of Staff, Dr. Wilkin, Davine Wilkin. I want to thank Mrs. Lindsay Maynard, who is the Director of Operations, Stacey Baptiste, Manager Operations. Say again? Health Promotions Unit, Dr. Cathy. I want to thank our finance officers, Mr. Via Harris and Mrs. Lydia Taylor. I want to thank Ms. Sargent, who is our HR manager, because HR is so important. I want to thank our PRO for doing the work that she has been doing.
Could you
And our photographer, Patrick. Don't forget Patrick.
Yes.
Patrick
Right.
is the all-important photographer who I can call at any moment.
And I know you mentioned Miss Sargent, but he is Miss Gleneva.
Yeah, Miss
Sargent.
Gleneva Sargent.
Yeah.
Yes, Gleneva Sargent. Yeah, Gleneva Sargent. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Gleneva Sargent. You have Mr. Leader, Mr. Alex Riley. We have those, Mr. Woodley, Crispin Woodley, who has been doing an excellent job in making sure that the city center stays clean. In fact, today he sent me the pictures of the work that they did in Carden Avenue, Church Street, because every Wednesday we focus on the city, keeping the city center clean. Every Wednesday. We have teams around the island, but we also focus on our city center every Wednesday. And the HIV unit as well. We want to talk people like Mrs. Lucine Vaughn, Dr. Ofre, right? All those people. Lord, the list goes on and on. So those, I want to thank everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to tell you guys, I'm very proud of you all. I'm just listening and seeing how the transformation of what is going to be happening for our healthcare, because many people live abroad and they want to come back to the Caribbean. And one of the things, not just in St. Kitts, P.S. Martin, but the entire Caribbean, most people are concerned about the healthcare. So I can see that you guys, it's a work in process, and hopefully we will see good things happening. You seem to have a good team already. Yes, I just got to tell you guys, thank you so much for being here. Any final? It's 9:59, but do you want any final?
Well, let me just say, I forgot Dr. Patrick Martin, he's our advisor, and we have Verna Mills, Brown, who works in the community as well, who deals with us. And I'll take the last 10 seconds.
Okay. We want to thank you, first of all, for having us. And this is just the first of many public outreach initiatives that we're going to be having. And as I said, we have a lot to do. We are doing a lot. And we are confident that we can make this the best.
Nice.
She said it. Ladies first. She said it. Thank you very much, Lavern, for having us on your show. I think we made an attempt to be here first, and then we could make it. But we kept our word, and that's important for us. Health is too big to fail, and we will not fail. We will ensure that we do our best for our people, because at the end of the day, this is our island, this is our space, and what it means really is that the success that we have doesn't mean that we won't have problems in the future. We'll just have better problems to solve. And since there's no failure like success, that is what worked in the past may not work again. We want to ensure at the end of the day that we keep pushing, and keep making a positive difference in the lives of our people.
All right on the dot of 10 o'clock.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, all the callers, all the persons online. Thank you very much. And just continue to, log on into St. Kitts if you're overseas, if you're local people. In order to know what is happening here, you have to, do your research and make sure that you're keeping abreast of what is happening here in your country. Once again, thank you so much. My name is Lavern Gumbs, and this is how we're going to say a pleasant good night. Good night. Let's Get Real on WinFM. Hi, this is Lavi. Let's Get Real, Wednesday nights at 8 on WinFM. Get ready for an hour of real talk that will keep you engaged and informed, bringing you insights, the hottest topics of the moment, and perspectives that matter from the runway to the political arena. Real Talk with Lavi covers all. Let's Get Real, Wednesday nights at 8 on WinFM.